All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get started today and talk about something that I'm sure we're all familiar with, cutting boards. You know, you've got your plastic ones, maybe a glass one, maybe even a nice wooden one.
Yeah, those kitchen essentials.
But have you ever thought about using bamboo? Today, we're going to deep dive into what makes bamboo cutting boards so special and why you might want to consider making the switch.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Now, I've got to say, in preparing for today, I was really fascinated to see just how much buzz there is around bamboo cutting boards. The sources are calling it a total kitchen revolution.
It's true. Bamboo has definitely taken the spotlight when it comes to eco-friendly kitchens.
Right. Eco-friendly, durable, naturally antimicrobial. It almost sounds too good to be true. So is this just clever marketing, or is there something really special about bamboo?
Well, there's definitely a trend factor at play here, that's for sure. But bamboo cutting boards really do have a lot going for them. One of the biggest things the research emphasizes is bamboo as a renewable resource.
Okay, so let's break that down. Why is bamboo considered such a sustainable choice?
Well, unlike a lot of hardwoods that can take, like, decades to mature, bamboo can actually grow incredibly fast. We're talking like 3 to 5 years to reach its full size.
Yeah.
That rapid renewability is a game changer for sustainability.
That's amazing. So you're essentially getting a much quicker turnaround time for harvesting, which is huge for the environment.
Right. And on top of that, the sources highlighted how bamboo requires very little intervention to thrive. You don't need those harsh pesticides or fertilizers that can harm the environment.
Yeah, that's a big one. It really does seem like a win-win for both cooking enthusiasts and the planet. But I'm curious about the performance aspect. How does bamboo actually stack up against other materials? Is it really as durable and hygienic as they say?
That's a great question. And you know what? Bamboo really does excel in these areas. And that's why it's gaining a lot of traction, even among professional chefs. One of the most fascinating things that research dug into was this naturally antimicrobial property of bamboo.
Oh, yeah. They were talking about some kind of natural substance in bamboo that gives it those antimicrobial powers.
Exactly. It's called bamboo kun, and it's basically got these built-in antibacterial and antifungal properties.
So wait, it's not just marketing hype? There's actually like a scientific reason behind those claims.
Yep. While it's definitely not a substitute for proper food hygiene practices, those natural properties do make it harder for bacteria to multiply on a bamboo cutting board compared to, say, a plastic one.
That's pretty remarkable. It's like having an extra layer of defense against cross-contamination in the kitchen. I like it. Okay, so we know bamboo is sustainable. We know it's hygienic. But what about the age-old cutting board debate? Plastic versus wood versus glass. Where does bamboo fit into all of that?
All right, so let's break it down. Let's start with plastic. I mean, it's definitely affordable, and you can throw it in the dishwasher.
Super convenient.
Right, exactly. But, and the research really emphasized this, all those deep cuts and grooves that you get from your knives over time can become a breeding ground for bacteria.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can't really get those out completely, even with a good scrub.
Exactly. Plus, plastic tends to dull your knives faster than other materials, and then there's the whole environmental impact, which, well, we know isn't ideal.
Not exactly the most eco-friendly option out there. So what about glass then? They always seem so hygienic. But the research mentions some downsides there too.
Yes, so while it's true that glass is non-porous,
Which means bacteria can't really penetrate it.
right, so it does seem like the more hygienic option. However, glass is incredibly hard on your knives, and honestly, no one enjoys that awful clattering sound every time you chop something on a glass cutting board. And of course, there's always the risk of breakage.
Oh, yeah, those shattered glass shards are not something you want to find in your food.
Definitely not a fun ingredient to add to the mix.
No, not at all. So that leaves us with wood, which seems like the more natural comparison to bamboo. What are the pros and cons there?
Yeah, wood is definitely aesthetically pleasing, and like bamboo, it is relatively kind to your knives.
Okay, that's good.
But wood can be a bit high maintenance. You have to be really careful about preventing warping.
Yeah, I've heard you have to oil them regularly.
Exactly. And even then, it can still be a bit finicky. Plus, it can be a lot more expensive than bamboo, especially if you're looking for sustainably sourced options.
Right, which is a major factor for a lot of people these days.
Absolutely. So when you look at it that way, bamboo seems to hit that sweet spot.
It really does. So it seems like bamboo really might be that sweet spot of sustainability, durability, and affordability. But one thing I found really interesting in the research was how the benefits of bamboo extend beyond just renewability. They were talking about how bamboo plantations can actually improve soil quality and prevent erosion. I mean, I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, that's often overlooked. Bamboo has this incredible root system that's super dense, and it really helps bind the soil together, preventing erosion.
Wow, so it's like it's actually helping to hold the ground in place.
Exactly. And this is especially important in regions that are prone to things like landslides or where soil degradation is a big concern.
That's amazing. It's like this whole other layer of environmental benefits that I honestly had no idea about. It's really incredible how something we use in the kitchen can have such a positive impact on a larger scale.
It really is. And you know that another thing the research touched on? Unlike a lot of materials that are used for kitchenware, bamboo is biodegradable.
Oh, that's right. I read that too. So at the end of its life, you can just compost it.
Well, depending on the type of glue and stuff used, it might not be suitable for a traditional compost pile,
Right.
but it can decompose naturally, which is a huge plus.
Mm.
It's not going to be hanging out in a landfill for centuries like plastic.
It really puts into perspective how our choices, even something as simple as a cutting board, can have this ripple effect.
Absolutely. Every little bit counts.
Speaking of getting the most out of our bamboo cutting boards, I was surprised to learn they can be used for so much more than just chopping. The sources mention using them as serving platters, charcuterie boards, even laptop stands. Have you experimented with any of these alternative uses?
You know, I think there's definitely some marketing at play there, trying to get people to buy more cutting boards.
Right.
But a well-made bamboo board is really versatile. I
Mhm.
mean, I've definitely used a large one as a serving tray for appetizers or a charcuterie board when I'm entertaining.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Just adds a nice rustic touch.
Definitely. I've actually been using mine as a makeshift laptop stand while I work from home.
Oh, really?
It adds a nice natural vibe to my workspace. But let's get practical for a moment. What about actually taking care of these boards? The source was pretty adamant about hand washing only, no dishwashers allowed.
Yeah, that's a big one. The dishwasher can really do a number on a bamboo cutting board. The heat and the harsh detergents can cause the fibers to dry out and crack. Hand washing with some warm soapy water is the way to go.
Gotcha. And what about oiling? The source mentioned that as well. Is that really necessary?
It definitely is. Regular oiling helps prevent the bamboo from drying out and cracking. Just like moisturizing your skin helps keep it from getting dry. You want to use a food-grade mineral oil and apply it every month or so.
Good to know. So we've talked about how eco-friendly bamboo is, how durable it is, and the hygiene aspect. But one thing that I thought was super interesting was learning that even professional chefs are making the switch to bamboo.
Yeah, I think that says a lot.
Right.
Professional chefs are tough on their tools. They need something that can withstand constant use, and bamboo really delivers on that front. Plus, it's gentler on their knives than glass or even some harder woods.
So if it's tough enough for those professional kitchens, it seems like it could definitely hold up to everyday use at home.
Absolutely. It's a good indicator of quality for sure.
Now, speaking of the future, the source hinted at some really cool innovations happening in the world of bamboo cutting boards. Did any of those stand out to you?
You know what caught my eye? All the research that's going into enhancing those natural properties of bamboo that we were talking about.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Well, for example, some companies are exploring ways to infuse the bamboo with even more powerful antimicrobial agents.
Oh, wow. So like taking what's already naturally there and giving it a boost.
Exactly. Just to further reduce that risk of cross-contamination in the kitchen.
That's really cool. What else are they working on?
They're also looking at ways to improve durability even further. So imagine a bamboo cutting board that's practically invincible, super resistant to scratches and cuts.
Now that would be impressive.
Yeah, some manufacturers are experimenting with special heat treatments and pressing techniques to create these incredibly dense and hard-wearing surfaces.
Wow. That's amazing. It sounds like the cutting boards of the future are going to be a lot more high-tech and sustainable than we might expect.
Right. And I think it's a perfect example of how we can use innovation to create products that are not only better performing, but also better for the planet.
Absolutely. It really makes you realize that something as ordinary as a cutting board can actually spark these bigger conversations about sustainability, innovation, and just being more mindful about the choices we make as consumers.
Definitely. It's a reminder that even the smallest actions in the kitchen, from the tools we use to the ingredients we buy, can ripple outward and have a larger impact.
So true. Well, on that note, I think we've thoroughly sliced and diced our way through the world of bamboo cutting boards today.
I think we did.
Hopefully, everyone listening learned something new and feels a little more informed about those kitchen essentials we often take for granted.
Absolutely.
Don't forget to check out the show notes for links to all the fascinating research we discussed today. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or maybe even a bamboo cutting board story of your own, we'd love to hear from you. Share them with us on social media. Until next time, happy cooking, everyone.
At nourishingtapestry.store we have a large range of bamboo cutting boards. Thanks for watching. Check us out at nourishingtapestry.store. Like, subscribe.